You can see her? Okay, good. Wonderful. Hi, Angela.
Hi, sorry, I had to mute it. My dog was eating.
That's okay. That's okay. And I think Maria's just arriving now, so we'll get her set up. So I'll put myself on mute.
Okay.
And once I got it,
Who's that?
that's Kim Graham. She's our
That's it? And then what, now what?
the space bar.
Here,
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're unmuted now.
okay.
Can we go to share Yes.
Share screen and take the picture. And we're good to go. Perfect. Thank you, Tom.
Okay, how do I unmute? So,
You can't unmute other people. but
okay,
You can just unmute yourself.
okay, so I'm unmuted?
Hmm?
So they can't hear me yet?
Well, we can hear you right now.
Oh, can they hear me?
Hmm?
Oh, can they? But when this is off on them, they're not hearing me. They're not talking.
They're muted.
Oh, they're muted too? Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Hi, Tammy. Huh?
You're muted right now, Tammy.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Hi, Tammy.
Hello.
Yeah.
Is that you, Maria?
Yes. Is that you, Kim
Hi,
Graham?
Maria. It's Kim.
Hi, Kim Graham. How are you?
Good. It's nice to meet you.
Too.
Hi, Phil.
Hey.
Yes, Kim, you look fine. You're fixing your hair. You look fine. You look beautiful. We are. What was that?
Everybody's slowly trickling in. Gotta just get. There we go. Okay.
What is that? That puts the sign down?
Yeah, well, the volume goes down when you press it on this.
What do you do pressing to
You press FN
FN?
and then you press. that
Oh.
one.
Oh, okay. FN and then you press, where is it? How it's doing?
F2.
F2? Okay. There.
So I'm in the same room.
I can't wait till we can all do this, Andrew Mackenzie. That we all can sit at a table and just talk with one another.
Well, somebody's, there's still feedback. No?
Hello. Hello.
Good evening, all. I guess it's still technically good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We'll just wait a few more minutes in case there's others that are still to join us, and then we'll begin.
So Andrew, what are you saying that in a couple of weeks that
All right, so it's 5:30, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the inaugural meeting of the new board for Middlesex Community Housing. My name is Paul Yeoman. I'm the outgoing chair of the board, and I'll be serving as presiding officer for the first part of the meeting tonight. It's great to have everyone here. We'll start off with a recognition of Indigenous peoples and land statement. So we'd like to begin by acknowledging the treaty territory of the Anishinaabe, which is defined within the pre-Confederation treaty known as the London Township Treaty of 1796. Throughout time, this region has also become the current home to the Haudenosaunee and Lenni nations. Moving on into our agenda, before we go to completion acceptance of the agenda with the indulgence of the board, I thought it'd be helpful if we did introductions, recognizing that we are starting our first meeting remotely. It'd probably be quite helpful. So I'll maybe ask the new board members to introduce themselves and members of senior administration as well. So who would like to begin?
I can. Okay, so my name is Adrian Cornelson. I am a member of the Middlesex County Council. I reside between Grand Bend and Park Hill, so I'm in a rural area, which is unreliable internet, and we have a storm moving in. So hopefully I can stay here for the entire duration of the meeting, but I may be pushed out.
Okay, thanks. Maybe I'll just go in order of the agenda then, just to help make things easier. So Ms. Anderson.
Thank you, Chair. Hello, my name is Ainsley Anderson. I'm an employee of the City of London, and I've been serving on the board for just over a year now.
Mr. Milsom.
Good evening, everyone. I as well am an employee of the City of London, but been a board member for the London Middlesex Community Housing since, I think, what was it, April of last year, 2020, I believe. So yeah, and my background is finance.
Thank you. Mr. Bezair. Is Gary Bezair not with us? I thought I saw him.
He was here, so I don't know if we've lost him. He was on his phone, I think.
Okay. Well, we'll table that then. Ms. Brooks is not with us either. Oh no, there she is. Yeah. You're on mute. Forgive me.
Who, me? Okay.
I know, Tammy
Hello.
Brooks.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So hi, everyone. My name's Tammy. I am a tenant of London Middlesex Community Housing. I've been a tenant for about 5 years. I recently returned to school in social services, and now I'm a registered social service worker and have been working in the community in that capacity. So thank you for having me.
Ms. Mano.
Okay, so how do I just unmute it?
We can hear you.
Oh, hello, how are you? My name is Maria Mano. I'm just grateful to be part of the board. I used to be a resident contact. I retired. And then obviously here I am as being part of something as great as being part of the board with all these members.
Lovely. Mr. Squire.
Phil Squire. I'm the city councilor for Ward 6. I prefer my other job, which is a lawyer. I prefer to be thought of as a lawyer, not a politician. I'm also, in my role as a councilor, I'm chair of the planning committee. I'm also the chair of the London Transit Commission.
Ms. Chowns.
Hello, everybody. My name is Shelley Chowns. I'm a community member on this board. I'm an employee at Tricar, have worked in the construction industry, and as many of you know, a former employee of London Middlesex Community Housing. So very nice to see all these familiar faces tonight.
Great. And Mr. Cornelison, we had you as well. That's great. So I'll turn over to Ms. McKenzie for an introduction.
Thank you very much, and good evening.
Well, we can't hear you.
It's nice to put some faces to some names. So those of you that haven't met me already, my name is Adrian McKenzie. I'm the interim CEO here at London Middlesex Community Housing. I've been with the organization, this is my 23rd year. and I've had a variety of roles. This has probably been the most challenging as we've tried to navigate through some pretty significant changes here at the organization and still moved ourselves forward in a lot of key areas in this last 18 months. So we've done some really good positive.
Oh, so you're cutting in and out, Andrea.
I switched microphones. So we're just having a bit of an issue because we've got a couple people in here that are muting and unmuting. So I apologize. I don't know what you heard. What I was articulating is I'm very pleased that we're here tonight to start the process of reintegrating back to a community-based board. I've been the interim CEO here for about 18 months now and looking forward to doing some really good work over the next year with all of you.
Great. Mr. Becerra, maybe we'll go back to you for an introduction as well, now that you've been able to rejoin us.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. I'm outside at a baseball field. My son's playing. So hopefully, can everyone hear me? Okay.
You can.
Okay, great. Yeah, my name is Gary Becerra. I obviously brand new to the board. I'm not 100% sure what to expect. I think I have a lot to learn. So, but I'm looking forward to working with everyone. I'm pretty easygoing guy. So hopefully, we can get some good work done. Nice to meet everyone.
Great. Ms. Grin.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to see you all and to meet you, hopefully in person next time. My name is Alyssa Grin. I'm the Interim Director of Tenant Services. I've been with the organization for over 8 years. And outside of my current interim assignment, I'm one of the tenant services managers. So I work directly in the communities with tenants.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Taplashvili.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everybody. My name is Diana Taplashvili. I'm Director of Finance and Corporate Services. I've been with the organization about 6 months, and this is an exciting position, and I'm very happy to be here.
Okay. Mr. Renaud.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Phil Renaud, absolutely the new guy. Been with the organization about 6 weeks. Still drinking from the fire hose in terms of learning about things and understanding the organization. And happy to meet the new board and look forward to working together in the future.
We're also joined tonight by Ms. Green.
Sorry, do you mind if I ask what does he do? I don't think you said what you do.
Pardon me. Director of Property Services and Asset Management.
Thank you.
We're also joined by Ms. Graham and Mr. Porter. Just wondering if you could quickly introduce yourselves as well.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kim Graham, and I'm the HR manager here at LMCH. I've been here since January 2020, and prior to that, I was with the City of London for 20 plus years. Happy to be here tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Porter.
Hi, my name is Bryce Porter. I'm the security manager. I've been with LMCH for 10 months now, give or take, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Okay, thanks. And we're also joined as well tonight by Rosanna Wilcox, who's the outgoing vice chair, who's happy to support the organization too. So then we'll move into completion and acceptance of the agenda. There's one minor amendment to the agenda I'm going to make from the presiding officer's position. For board elections, it's identified in the agenda as chair, vice chair, and treasurer. That should read chair, vice chair, and secretary. So we'll make that adjustment. Is there anyone that has any additional items for the agenda or any other adjustments as well? Seeing none, could I have a motion to accept the agenda? Thank you, Ms. Anderson, seconded by Mr. Milson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? It is carried. That's great. We'll move on then to disclosures of interest. Does anyone have anything that they wish to disclose tonight? Seeing none, we'll proceed then into board elections for chair, vice chair, and secretary. We'll begin with chair. What I will note as well for the board, for your benefit, the board hasn't been fully constituted yet. We do have one additional board member that will be joining us, I believe, at our August meeting. So I just want to make sure there's no concerns from the board with proceeding with elections tonight. So if no one voices any objection, we'll go forward with the elections. Great. Seeing and hearing none, I will open the floor then for nominations for chair. Mr. Milson. You're on mute, Joe.
Where do I have to give $2 for that or what? No, I'm just kidding. So no, I'd be happy to, through you, Mr. Chair, just to make a nomination. I would nominate Councillor Phil Squire to be chair.
Mr. Squire, would you like your name to stand forward?
I would, but I just one term until someone else was up to speed on doing it.
Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Squire. I should have noted that as well for the benefit of the board. Normally, this is sort of an irregular situation where the full board is being constituted at once. And so normally the nominations and elections would occur in November with a calendar year for the chair being January to December. So the board could choose to have it run for the remainder of this calendar year with a new chair being elected next year, or it could be for a year and a half period, essentially. So I'll leave that at that if someone else would like to make that motion as to which way you'd like to go with that too, just so we could have that confirmed and recorded. So we have a motion for nominations for chair. It's a seconder for that nomination. Ms. Chowns, thank you. Any further debate and discussion? So all those in favor of electing Phil Squire as chair of the board? Great, that's carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Squire.
Yeah, just in terms of that, in terms of a term, I would do a year. But if that's slightly longer, I'm prepared to do it, but I don't want to block anybody else who has, just to be clear, who has interest in that area.
Okay. So perhaps to go to the end of 2022 then, Mr. Squire, would that be acceptable to you?
That would be, as long as it's no longer than that. I think other people always should get an opportunity.
You bet. So could someone make that motion then for the period to be from the commencement of this meeting to the end of 2022? Thank you, Mr. Cornelison. Any seconder? Mr. Becerra, thank you. Any further debate and discussion on that? All those in favor? That's great, it's carried. So Mr. Squire, would you like to take the chair for the remaining elections, or shall I continue for the elections and turn things over to you?
I will let you do the elections. You're doing a great job, and then I'll step in for the approval of previous meetings.
That sounds great. Okay. So nominations then for vice chair, and it'd be under the same term and same as secretary then, just for clarification.
Mm-hmm.
Any nominations for vice chair? Sure, Mr. Squire would benefit from having a vice chair.
So I'm going to nominate someone. I'm going to nominate Shelley Chowns.
Perfect. Ms. Chowns, are you accepting of the nomination?
I do accept it, and thank you very much for your vote of confidence.
Great. Is there a seconder then for that? Thank you, Ms. Anderson. So we have a nominee and a seconder. Any debate, discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? Great, it's carried. Congratulations, Ms. Chowns. The next is the position of secretary. Do we have a nomination for that? Oh, sorry, Ms. McKenzie. Sorry, I can't hear you. No, unfortunately, still can't. Still can't hear you. Is it possible to use Angela's microphone at all? No.
I ended up going home. I'm sorry. I'm
Oh,
not.
no, that's okay.
I'm going to circle around the table and I'm going to sit over with Maria. So
Okay.
Or her microphone is unmuted, so can you hear me now if I
We
yell?
can, yes.
Okay, sorry, I don't know why I'm having issues today. I've been on Zoom all day and there's been nothing. Now, of course, it's gonna go awry. So traditionally, just so that the board is aware, the board
No, sorry, we lost you.
secretary role is usually just an appointment to the CEO, and then the CEO delegates some of that
Sorry, Andrea, you're going in and out.
responsibility to the executive assistant. So it's is yours unmuted?
Can you hear me on this
Sorry,
one?
Can you hear me on this one?
Yes.
Sorry,
I apologize. This is, I'm not.
Sorry, Andrea, I'm gonna, sorry to interrupt really quick. Can you mute you on your old one and then use Mr. Renault's then for a moment there? I think that we'd avoid the backlash or feedback. Perfect.
Mute me.
Okay, we're gonna try this. How's this?
That's great, thank you.
Okay, my apologies. I'm recording Lunatic this evening. So traditionally, what I was saying, Chair, through you, is
the board secretary is just an appointment that's made of the CEO to that position. And then the CEO, all the general duties and responsibilities of board secretary are to attend the meetings, keep the minutes, send out the invitations. So then by default, some of those responsibilities flow down to the executive assistant. So this is really just to clarify with the rest of the board that you're all comfortable with the CEO continuing to be board secretary and to make that commitment.
Okay. All right, so I guess we will, I'll take a nomination then perhaps for a formal appointment then of Ms. McKenzie as the secretary for the board. Ms. Jones, seconded by Mr. Squire. Any further discussion? Thank you. All those in favor? Great. That's deemed carried. And that takes us to the end of board elections. Mr. Squire, I'll turn things over to you.
Thank you. And I just want to welcome everyone. We're all, I think, excited about this opportunity moving forward. I just want to say what important work this is. And as a counselor, this is hugely important to City Council, the entire issue of housing. So I would say this is one of our most important boards. You'll be getting another counselor. I'm not going to explain to you or try to explain to you why you don't have a second counselor today. It was sort of an interesting set of circumstances that I don't really want to comment on. But before we go on, I just want to thank the staff who are here, who have stepped in during this period of time before we had another board. They're all here. You can see John Milson, Rosanna Wilcox, Paul Yeoman, Ainsley Anderson, and others before who have taken over this. And it's really appreciated. Council appreciates it. And you and staff did a great job in the interim. And so I really feel you need to thank you for that. So I think I want to make sure we recognize you. So thanks. So moving on is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, and that will be the meeting of June 17th, 2021. I assume everyone's had a chance to review those minutes, so I would need a mover to approve the minutes. We're at a little bit of a loss because I'm not sure any of us who are moving were at the meeting. So I wonder if one of the staff members could just indicate these are accurate as far as you know. Perhaps the previous chair, Mr. Yeoman, could you confirm that?
Yes, they are, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Then I think we're safe in having one of the new board members move this. So is someone prepared to move the approval of the minutes? Ms. Anderson is moving and Mr. Milson is seconding. Anybody wish to discuss that? No, then I'll just call the vote. All those in favor? Great. That is approved. There are no communications, no delegations, and there are 2 consent matters. I'm just going to do it the way we do it at City Council, which is, does anyone wish to pull one of the 2 consent matters to vote on separately? Otherwise, we'll be moving and seconding them as a package. You'll still be able to ask questions about them, but does anyone want to pull them separately? All right, then is there a mover for those 2 matters? The two, one being the CEO update and one being the staff report on vacancy management. Moved by Mr. Milson, seconded by Mr. Bezaire. So now that they've been moved and seconded, I'll just open the floor for any questions. And my practice, again, is that as chair, I don't ask any questions until everyone else has asked questions, and then I don't ask anything contentious or get into anything adversarial as chair unless I step out of the chair. So does anyone have any questions about either report? Ms. Anderson.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, to staff. I'm wondering, with respect to item B, the vacancy management update, for a board member that's been on the board for a year now, to me, the structure of the report is fine. I'm wondering, though, if staff would consider to provide context to our new members and just to the public who may be interested in these reports, perhaps a comparison with respect to the vacancies as it relates either to past months or the past year, just to provide context as to, you know, patterns or trends in those numbers.
Thank you. And Ms. McKenzie, I'll ask you to answer it, or if you want to delegate it to another staff member, you can do that. Either way is fine. Looks like we're going to have to delegate it to someone else. We're still not hearing you. I'm sorry. Is there someone else who can address the issue of, and sorry, it says Olacia, and I don't know. I'll just recognize you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'm happy to go over the vacancy report. I see that Ms. McKenzie is now closer to the microphone, so I want to give her an opportunity if she wants to say anything first.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Chair. We are certainly happy to be able to put together a report that we can share at the next board meeting that gives a little bit more context for what we've been able to achieve in the last year in addressing the vacancies. That's one of the really positive pieces of work that we've done through 2020 and 2021 so far is to reduce those. But understanding, you know, if you're looking at that report in isolation, you don't necessarily see the trends that we've been able to generate with the lower levels of vacancy. So I don't know if there's anything further that Ms. Grin would like to add on top of that. But
yeah,
but
can I just clarify? And I don't want to speak for Ms. Anderson, but I think Ms. Anderson wants to put into context. In other words, where were we, and where are we now? In other words, have we improved from some period in time to now? And then I think the other part of that is, how are we moving towards the ultimate targets which are recognized? Is that what you're looking for, Ms. Anderson?
Thank you, Chair. And to clarify that, I'm actually wondering if it's possible when we receive this report regularly to have some sort of an ongoing indication of the pattern, the trends, or the direction. Not necessarily a separate report, Ms. McKenzie.
Thank you. Okay. Did you want to add anything, Ms. McKenzie, about whether it's a difficulty in presenting that kind of report with this one, in the same one?
Through you, Chair, we're happy to revise this existing report and add some additional information that will include the trends and maybe show a snapshot of the progress that's been made in the last 12 months. We can do that on a go-forward basis for sure.
Thank you. Mr. Milson? You're muted, John.
Thank you. Yeah. Through you, Mr. Chair, thank you. And maybe just to add to that conversation, I think it might be helpful in your second category, active rental stock, to maybe even have a graph similar to the third category around, you know, how long these have been vacant for in terms of like the 30, 60, 90 days. I don't know if that's possible too, just to see, you know, 50 units seems like quite a fair bit, 1.5%, but just how long have they been non or active rental stock, which might be helpful. I just didn't know if that'd be something that future reports could also, you know, have in them.
Chair, certainly, Mr. Milson, we're happy to take that back and make some revisions and bring forward a slightly modified version for next month, and we can review it then and make sure it's more aligned with what you're looking for.
Sure, and that might, sorry, and through you, Mr. Chair, with the third category too, I don't know, I see these quite often, but I just recently thought about what's the average length of out of service or non-rentable active. I know there's 14 at 90 days, but is there an average that could also be potentially reported to? Just for, anyways, it sounds like it can be. It's just something that the format, yeah.
Yeah, through you again, Chair. Happy that we can provide that information as well, Mr. Milson. We can add that to the next month's report.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Other questions on reports? Ms. Chowns, go ahead. Then Ms. Baker will be next. Go ahead, Ms. Chowns.
Thank you, Chair. Not a question, rather a comment regarding the CEO update. I just wanted to recognize the work that staff has put in over the last little while, in particular through the pandemic. It seems as though you have a number of initiatives active in the community right now, and I recognize that that can be tricky, especially during these times. And I was particularly pleased to see the learning tent on site when I was past there the other day, and thrilled that we've got another summer of activity at our Southdale location. So just a comment to staff, thank you for all of the hard work and keeping things so busy and active all of the time. It's obvious in your report that everyone is really working very diligently at moving their communities forward. So thank you.
Thank you. And I just see Tammy, and you're going to have to give me time to get used to last names. So Tammy, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I had a question and a comment in terms of the report being extended to include some more trending. And I'm wondering if included in that would also be by residential location in the city. You know, in terms of maybe are we having more vacancies in more residential units or buildings than maybe in others? And maybe what's the reason for that? Does that make sense?
Ms. McKenzie?
We certainly have that information. If the board thinks that it would be helpful to understand at that level, then we can certainly try and add some additional information based on where the vacancies are occurring.
Thank you. Anything further in terms of questions and comments? I just had one comment and one question. I agree with what my fellow board members have said. I think given this is an important issue, I think for this board and council, when we look at your reports moving forward, and I think a little more detail is going to be really helpful to us. So I just want to reinforce what they said, and I think it's important going forward. The second thing is I wanted to ask about in your update, just because I don't know what it is, community safety unit. Can you just, it sounds like a really good thing, but I just wanted to understand sort of what it is and how it works, because I hear a lot about that issue in the community safety. So I was really interested in that.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. The Community Safety Unit is a team. So we had actually, through the multi-year budget process, we had come before council in our business case 19 to ask for additional funding for safety and security. And that was really specifically for staffing. So those dollars have gone towards Bryce, who is here with us this evening, and his team. So he has currently 3 community safety staff that work for him. They're out in the community to provide some safety. They do safety audits. They are doing some community outreach work as well. It's starting to make those connections within the community, but they will have oversight for the reporting with police, that relationship. They have the ability to detain and arrest individuals on site if we have no trespassers or individuals that are doing something illegal on site. So they have the ability to arrest and then call police to get them to come to the property. So there's a myriad of things that they are responsible for, but it's all part and parcel of the business case 19 funding that we got from the city.
Great, that's really interesting, and it's good to know that. I didn't know that before, so it's something that I can certainly indicate to people when they ask me about safety in units, what we have. So that's an interesting point. So thank you. Any other questions or comments on the reports? No? Then both of those consent matters have been moved and seconded. So I just need a vote. All those in favor? Great. That matter passes. The next matter we have are reports and business. And the first staff report is staff report 2021-36, which is diversity and inclusion policy. Ms. Graham, do you have a presentation or just a short verbal presentation on that?
Yes, thank you, Chair. We brought the diversity policy to the board at the last meeting, and they were very helpful in providing some additional information that they would like to see in the policy, which we've added. Basically, the policy is a commitment of support for diversity and inclusion at LMCH. Walking through the policy, it gives definitions, practical strategies, things we can actually do in terms of recruitment, corporate culture, and increasing cultural competence within the corporation for the goal of increasing our diversity and inclusion. I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has any regarding the policy.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments? Ms. Jones?
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Graham, I noticed that you referenced a number of policies in the related documentation, and I apologize I wasn't able to participate in the first vetting of your policy with the previous board. But I wondered if in your related documentation there may be some language that you could borrow from the collective agreement or from your labor relations group that also speaks to their diversity and inclusion policies. And I'm asking specifically because of the hiring practice section of the policy that talks about committed to hiring practices for the most suitable candidates. And I know that sometimes that can be at odds with unionized workforces that seek hiring practices based on seniority.
Go ahead.
Are you able to speak to that a little bit?
In terms of the collective agreement, yes, I can definitely add some language in there. You're talking about the related documentation at the very top of the document?
Yes, thank you. I just wondered if there was related documentation or if there was a reference in the collective agreement that spoke specifically to diversity and inclusion through the hiring practices.
There isn't in our current collective agreement, no.
And I'm wondering if there is an opportunity to maybe seek some clarification from the bargaining unit on the hiring practices that would bring some definition to the diversity inclusion rather than seniority as the prioritization of candidates.
We can definitely have a look at that. That would be something, because we are in the middle of the current collective agreement, that would be something we can look at our next bargaining, which is the end of 2023, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ms. Childs, just for clarification, would you expect, I just wondered what you're expecting, an amendment to come back on this policy in the near future, or?
Well, Ms. Graham has clarified that the next opportunity to open the collective agreement is not for some time. And so I'm not sure that it would justify holding up passing this today, but it may be an opportunity for at the 2-year revision mark, which sounds like it may coincide with the next opening of the collective agreement, to ensure that there was some harmony between both this policy and the collective agreement.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Ms. Anderson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to staff, I just wanted to thank you for incorporating the comments and feedback that came from the discussion at the previous meeting, and it's an important policy, so I'm really glad to see it moving ahead.
Thank you. I really did appreciate your comments.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? I have a question, and it has to do with the idea of intersectionality. Intersectionality is a theory. Some people accept it and some people don't accept it. And I was interested because I've never seen a policy before in terms of this that talks about intersectionality. So you provide a definition of intersectionality, and then you say, we will place a focus on intersectionality becoming more effective at addressing systemic injustice. So I'm trying to understand, you say this is what intersectionism is, and here's how we're going to use it. And it's not clear to me how those two interact. In other words, you've got a theory and now you say, well, we're going to apply that theory moving forward. How does that work in practice?
I think that's a good question. And I think it's more of an underlying foundational piece in the work that we do. So when we're looking at hiring practices and corporate culture and cultural competence with our staff, that's a consideration that we make. And that's something that we think about when we're making those decisions, that intersectionality can be a big piece of this diversity and inclusion strategy.
Okay, so here's my challenge. You've given a definition of it. You've sort of generally stated. I think it's very difficult to say what this means and how does it get applied. My understanding of intersectionality is you bring all of a person's experiences and challenges together when you consider them. And,
yes.
and I hope that's right. I just think, and I'm not going to hold up this policy to doing that, but I just think there can be a I will say firmly from my point of view, intersectionism can be misapplied badly in the wrong circumstances. So I just want to make sure going forward that people understand that this is something that I am interested in, and I want to see how it works out within. I'm not opposed to what we're generally trying to do, but I just want to put a flag there as to something that it may be more challenging to do in practice than it is in theory. So I'll leave it at that. Any other questions or comments? All right, so I need a mover and a seconder for this particular policy. Do we have a mover? Ms. Chowns, seconder. And I'm going to say, I keep saying Tammy, and I forget your last name is?
Brooks.
Ms. Brooks. So Ms. Brooks is seconded. All those in favor? All right, that is passed. And thank you, Ms. Graham, for your presentation and your work on that. And what I do when I'm at meetings is I always put mix my papers all up. So now I'm back sort of looking for my agenda here. So you'll just have to give me a second. All right, the next matter on the agenda is staff report 2021.37, which is closed circuit TV, CCTV policy. And I have Mr. Porter, is it, to present that?
Yes, it is. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So this policy was also presented at our last meeting, and some amendments were suggested, and those have been amended thus far and added to the current policy and back for review. So again, thank you for everyone who took the time to review it and make those suggestions. Specifically, section 17 training now includes and has been amended to include mental health first aid training and a combination of both internal and external training on poverty, addictions, cultural awareness and humility, diversity and inclusion, unconscious bias, and anti-oppression. So that's the next section that we've added to this policy. And second to that, there were some questions around the retention period for CCTV footage and those records. under certain legislation. And so that's been confirmed and amended under section 13.7, which was confirmed under section 30 sub 1 of the MFIPA laws, which states that there's no minimum amount of retention time that we need for this footage until such time as we use that footage for a purpose. And that could be a criminal act, which would then default to the Limitations Act, and we would have a minimum retention period of 1 year. And likewise, if we were to use that for landlord-tenant board hearings, that would fall under the Residential Tenancies Act, excuse me. And under that, we would have a retention period under that legislation as well. So it's not very clear under the MFIPA laws, but essentially whatever we're using the footage or those CCTV records for, we need to adhere to that minimum retention period of the subsequent legislation. And that's been amended and states as such under 13.7.
Thank you very much. You sound like a lawyer, and so take that as please take that as a compliment. I'm impressed. Questions or comments? Ms. Chowns, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Porter, there are a number of acronyms in this document, and I've tried my best to follow along, but in section 7 under employees, you reference LMCH's practice to use BWC records, and I'm wondering if you can clarify what that is.
Oh, yes, my apologies. I thought that was in the definition section. Sorry, through you, Chair. That would be a body-worn camera. So at the beginning of the section, the body-worn cameras that the community safety unit will be wearing, it does not apply to the CCTV policy. There will be a separate and comprehensive procedure as to the body-worn cameras, the specific usage, retention, disposal, and any other sections that would need to be done. So that's actually a separate procedure we have.
Thank you.
Any further questions, Ms. Chowns? No. Any other questions, comments on this policy? There being none, I need a mover and a seconder, sorry. Moved by Ms. Chowns, seconded by Ms. Anderson. Any further comments or questions? Then all those in favor? That matter is passed. Thank you very much. And then the last matter is the striking of a subcommittee for the CEO recruitment. I know different groups do it in a different way. Ms. Graham, perhaps you can help me out by telling me what you maybe had in mind, and then we can discuss what we as a board would like to see in place.
Thank you, Chair. What I would like to see is a representation of the board. And I don't want to be too prescriptive because I would like the board to decide what makes sense for it. I can certainly lead the process in terms of the administrative piece, and the recruitment is actually done. The posting is down, all the applications are received. We have about 140 applications, and I can meet as early as tomorrow with the subcommittee. Generally, it would be 4 or 5 people. We wouldn't want to be too overwhelming for the applicants. That's usually what it looks like.
Great. So that makes some sense to me. And would normally the chair of the board chair that committee? Is that the practice? That's normally been the practice. So yes. I'm happy to chair that committee. And so maybe we don't want to remove anyone from the process, but so we can either have a process, fellow members, where everybody sits on the selection committee. But I would suggest that selection committee may come back with more than one name, and then the way certainly we did it at the city, and I don't say that's the right way, that the subcommittee would come up with a short list. And then at that point, the entire board, it's such an important position that I think the entire board would be in on that. Does that make sense, Ms. Graham?
It does, yes.
Okay. So I will sit, and if it's okay, I'm happy to chair it. I'm not so sure I'm set on meeting tomorrow, Ms. Graham, but I'll think about that one. It's Friday, but we can.
I'm happy to get going right away.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate. You didn't say Saturday or Sunday. I appreciate that. So maybe we can find out just interest, and I think that what that subcommittee would want to do is not pick one name and say, here's the name we came up with. I think we come back with a short list, and then those people would normally meet with the entire board. You know, maybe the final 3 or whatever. So are there people interested on sitting on that committee? It's an important committee, obviously, to choose the next CEO of the organization. So maybe looking for three board members to do that.
Yeah.
How do I say I'd like to do that?
Just say you'd like to do it.
You did. Oh, did you hear me?
I heard you. So you'd like to do it?
Yeah, I'd like to.
Perfect.
How about you, Tammy? You
Yes.
too?
Yeah.
Tammy would like to do it. I am going to call you Maria and Tammy because that's the way you appear on the screen.
Yes, because
That's the way it's going to go.
yes.
So is there another person who would like to sit on that subcommittee with us? Gary Bazaar? Okay, so there's 4 of us now. Is there, just so we know, is there someone else who'd really like to sit on it? Well, you can sit on it, but it will come back to the entire board. No? Okay. So what I'm looking for is a nomination for me to chair a subcommittee made up of Maria, Tammy, and Gary to do the initial work on coming up with a short list of people for the position of CEO. And I just need a mover and seconder for that. Moved by John Milson, seconded by Adrian. All in favor?
I wonder, Chair, if I could add something.
Sure.
I didn't know if we're looking potentially, I was just going to suggest potentially Mr. Yeoman being added to it. I didn't know if you didn't want a non-board member to be there or not, but
I'd be
it was just
happy to
something.
have Mr. Yeoman there if Mr. Yeoman will do it.
I'm not sure if he's still on
He's
this.
muted. He's probably having dinner, but you know.
No, he's here. My apologies. I'm
Oh,
cute.
yes, I'm happy to serve at the board's pleasure.
Great. So if it's okay, we'll just amend the motion to add Mr. Yeoman. Usually having your child on screen is a political ploy that we use, so no one will get mad at us when we're talking. It's hard to yell at someone with a child. So we'll just add Mr. Yeoman to that, and so it's moved and seconded. And again,
So then when does this take effect to have a meeting about a new CEO?
I'm sorry, I don't see who's speaking.
Me, it's Maria. Maria,
Oh,
sorry.
I'm sorry, Maria. I didn't see it on. Well, we're going to have a meeting. Kim and I will set a date for a meeting, and I imagine it will be am I right that it would be within a week?
Okay.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, we've got to meet within a week. I'm going to assume she was joking about tomorrow, but no, she wasn't. See, she's trying to make me look bad, and I'm trying to get out of it. Maybe we can get back to you on dates for next week, and we can do that through email. Kim and I will touch base, and we'll provide you with some times. Does that sound okay?
Yep.
Great. Okay. So we've taken care of that.
It'll be done. Can I get an email on that, or that'll be done through an email, like to let us know?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have your contact, and
Okay.
yeah. New business inquiries. We have departmental overviews. I haven't been here before, so how is that done? Does each person make a short presentation?
Through you, Chair, I will just, what we thought we would do, just because this is the inaugural meeting, is just have each of the directors sort of give a 5-minute general overview of their department and sort of key priorities. I will work a little bit more closely with you, and then we will develop a more robust orientation to the organization. But this is just an opportunity for everybody to get a brief sort of introduction to the directors.
Yeah, and that's a great idea. So I'm going to say it was my idea, and we'll is that okay? Yeah. So and Shelley says we didn't actually vote. I thought we did raise our hands on the subcommittee, but she's already. Did we not vote on that? No. Well, let's vote on it. This is a subcommittee, so let's vote. All right, we're voting, and Shelley's going to be very happy now that we have actually voted. There you go. All right, so we're going to have presentations from each of the, and Ms. Graham, you've already spoken to us a couple of times tonight, so we do know you now, and I'll let you go ahead and maybe you can tell us a little bit about what your responsibilities are.
Thank you, Chair. So I am the HR manager here at LMCH. Like I said, I've been here since January 2020, and we run all of the recruitment, training, all of the HR pieces, dealing with the union, discipline, coaching, all of those HR pieces for the organization.
Great. I added you because I wanted everybody to sort of have that chance. Mr. Porter, I don't know if you wanted to add anything, what you've already told us. I did ask for sort of a description of your area, but is there anything you wanted to add?
Thank you, Chair. No, I think Andrea said it very well. I am the security manager, and obviously from a corporate standpoint, I look at our risk as an organization, and that comes at very different levels of liability and legislative adherence, as well as speaking to different safety audits and how we can improve the safety and security for both staff and our tenants. And I also lead the community safety unit that Andrea spoke about. So those are my direct reports, and they come to me and investigate with our community partners such as London Police, London Fire. We're part of Tenant Services Department, so we work very closely with our tenant services managers and our community relations workers to help assist our tenants in any way that is feasible. I also help with sitting on a couple different boards like Joint Health and Safety to make sure everything is again, legislatively adherent. And again, for my team, they have a kind of multifaceted approach to security, where they have an enforcement role, they have a large community engagement role, and reporting tools. So I've set up a reporting tool via internet and email, and that's been a big success with our staff and our tenants. Our tenants have reached out and really built connections with my team, and we're having great communication about what's going on in the buildings and better understanding the needs of our tenants. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Taplash, I'm going to get this wrong. Taplashvili, did I do it close?
Very close, very good.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Appreciate it, Taplashvili. Thank you. So as I mentioned before, I am Director of Finance and Corporate Services. I will actually try and share my screen. So I prepared a short presentation. I hope everybody can see my screen right now. So I will share with you a little bit, few words about this department structure, what we do, and what are the main deliverables from my department to the board. So in my department, I have two managers, which one is finance and other is IT manager, a KPI business analyst, as well as procurement coordinator. With that team, we support the needs of our organization. And in total, our team is about under 10 people. Under finance manager, we have AP clerks as well as the accounting assistant. IT department comprises of two individuals, manager and coordinator. And we have procurement coordinator as well as the business analyst. With that team, we're supporting ongoing needs of the business, as well as the reporting to the board and the auditors. What does finance do here? So basic functions, we pay the bill, file and pay taxes, support payroll, pension, financial reporting. We work with our colleagues from the city on reconciling accounts, as well as we support other departments on cost analysis, as well as every year we work with our external auditors. IT department is responsible for managing and maintaining company's network infrastructure, as well as supporting all technology needs for everybody in this building, as well as working from the sites. As well, we also support multiple departments with their different technology needs, whether it's implementation of new software or support, or or going and finding out how we can solve certain problems. KPI and business analyst supports our reporting needs related to the critical metrics such as KPIs, key performance indicators, as well as documenting and reporting best practices all across organization, how we can track our data and how we can better improve our performances. Procurement coordinator role is designed to support and follow our procurement policy and support other departments, primarily the capital projects. What to expect to the board from my department: quarterly financials, quarterly KPIs, annual budgets, audited financial statements, which are also provided on the annual basis. We do recosting of the budget, as well as we are responsible for a certain group of policies. So we will make sure that those policies are up to date and are reinforced within the organization. Few major projects on the go, which we believe you should be aware, is a Laserfish, which is a document management system. Everybody went through the COVID, and which made us realize that it's a very good idea to go paperless, to improve and rely on technology more. And this is our attempt to improve our processes. We also at the crossroad where our current ERP system, which comprised of accounting and property management platform, is outgraded and requires upgrade to improve our controls, and especially at this time when we're heading into the more robust future in terms of getting new funding from CMHC as well as the other capital projects. We believe that having a system which with the better reporting system will improve our position and cost controls. That would be it on my side. Any questions?
Okay, we'll go back. Are we going to go back so I can see everyone? There we go. Any questions? Okay, I think I'm just gonna, just as a counselor, I think the one thing I would point out is the thing that council, and we're gonna have to pay attention to that, is when we come to our budgeting as a city council, you know, we've done our 4-year budget, but we're particularly interested in what does LMCH, what are you asking from the city? How much money do you need from the city? Is it more than you needed before? Is it less? And the infrastructure gap is of huge interest, certainly to city council. In other words, how is that going, you know, for us? Because we want to see that improving. And I'd have to say it's improved. The annual report that we received from LMCH this year was a very positive one. Council was quite happy with it, in that we were seeing positive trending. When do we see that sort of stuff? Is that part of your annual budget presentation? Miss?
Usually capital reporting updates will be on the budget. The budget's due to the city, draft budget is due to the city on August 11. So it will be in our next meeting.
Okay, so that's going to be an important thing we're looking at next meeting, I take it, just as a preview?
Absolutely.
Great, okay. Just wanted to set the stage for that. Any other questions or comments? There being none, we'll go on to Ms. Grin. There you are, you're in the center. People move around on this screen, and so I thought you'd left me, but there you are in the middle. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the board for this opportunity to provide you a broad overview of the Tenant Services Department. I will also share my screen with you. Just give me a moment, please. So I believe you can see my screen now, correct? Perfect. So I will start also with our department structure. We have three major areas in tenant services. We have tenant services which are led by 3 tenant services managers. Another area is community engagement, and another area is safety and security. And we have tenant services assistant that supports the entire department. And now I'm going to zoom in a little bit to go into a little bit more details about the roles that we have. So all the work in tenant services is done within teams. We have the entire LMCH portfolio split amongst 3 teams, and each team has tenant placement coordinator, tenant services coordinator, 2 community relations workers, and legal services coordinators. Within this area, we also have resident contacts, and resident contacts are tenants who are employed by LMCH to provide support to our tenants after hours. Under the community engagement area, we have system navigators, community development workers, and tenant program coordinator. Security manager has 3 community safety specialists reporting to him. And again, tenant services assistant provides support to the entire department. And now I will explain a little bit more about what is in each one of these areas. So in tenant services, we provide the entire continuum of services from the very beginning where someone chooses to live at one of LMCH units until the very end, till someone moves out. So our tenant placement coordinators would offer housing to applicants from the centralized waitlist. This centralized waitlist is maintained by the Housing Access Centre with the City of London. You will frequently hear the term 9 out of 10 rule. And what that means is that 9 out of 10 applicants come from special priority, urgent and high needs categories, which includes urgent homelessness. So this special priority policy was implemented in 2005. And as you can imagine, this significantly changed the demographics in London housing. We frequently see tenants coming from very difficult situations. They have experienced trauma in the past. They come from homeless situations. We see individuals struggling with mental health, with disabilities, with addictions. And it's frequently difficult in terms of food security, access to transportation. So we recognize that housing is only first step, but we do need to provide a lot more support to our tenants to make sure that they're thriving and they are integrated in the community and they feel part of the community. So we have community relations workers who would reach out to new tenants, connect with them, and introduce them to the sites where they live. Describe to them the programs that we have at the buildings, different services that LMCH provides on site, and also connect them with resources in a broader community. Sometimes, of course, tenant disputes happen, so we receive reports about various social problems. It could be something minor like neighbor disputes or noise concerns, or it could be something a little bit more serious in terms of safety or illegal activities. So our community relations workers would investigate reports that we received and offer resolutions to some of the social problems. A big part of what we do is administration of rent geared to income program. All our units are rent geared to income, so they are subsidized and essentially they offer the greatest depth of affordability possible. Roughly, rent is calculated based on 30% of employment income, or if someone is in receipt of Ontario Works or DSP, their rent would be based on scale, depending on the number of beneficiaries on their drug card. We have legal services coordinators who are licensed paralegals, and what they do is try to support tenancies when things become difficult. So when tenants fall in arrears, our legal services coordinators would reach out to them and offer repayment agreements. Sometimes things escalate a little further and we end up at the landlord-tenant board. And in that case, we still have opportunities to enter into mediated agreements to maintain tenancies. And similar with social problems, when there are certain behaviors in the community that affect the safety of others or interfere with the reasonable enjoyment of others, sometimes we start legal action, but when we are at the landlord-tenant board, we always make effort to correct that behavior, to mitigate risks, and to reduce safety concerns for the community. So there are mediated agreements that are being signed to reduce the unsafe behaviors. Our community relations workers also provide short-term counseling, crisis intervention, and ongoing support and referrals to different partner agencies in the community. The next area is community engagement. All the work that we do in community engagement is guided by our community development pillars. So the 4 pillars are access to education, social connection, employment and training support, and mental and physical wellness. We have partnership with over 60 different agencies and community groups, and all the partnerships that we have, all the programs that we bring to our sites would fall under at least one of these pillars, but for the most part, it would touch on 2 or 3 pillars. To give you a few examples of the community development programs that we have, some of them year-round. So for example, in seniors buildings, we run blood pressure clinics. Some of them are seasonal programs. So for example, right now we have a partnership with London Police Services. So this is a seasonal program where we have Joe League Baseball for the youth at our family sites. Another example of seasonal program would be offering free tax clinics where tenants could do their taxes for free during tax season. School year, something Ms. Chowns mentioned, we have a learning tent at Southdale, and we're also expanding this program into the school year, which provides tutoring for the youth at our family sites. Some of the projects are pilot projects. So recently, for example, we partnered with the Middlesex London Health Unit to bring mobile vaccine clinics to our seniors sites. Considering that some seniors may have mobility concerns and not be able to get out to regular clinics. So we brought clinics to their sites and they were able to receive vaccines. We encourage tenant-led activities. We have many tenants who are interested in starting their own groups, starting their own projects, and we support them through these activities. Another area.
Can I just stop you for 1 second? We are supposed to adjourn at 6:45, which is 6 minutes from now. So I just want to, you're providing us with a lot of information, and just if you could be mindful of time, that would be great.
Thank you. With Community Safety Unit, actually, it's great because Mr. Porter already addressed many of these items. So I will skip this slide for now. In terms of deliverables to the board, we will be providing updates on Tenant Advisory Council activities, and I will explain a little later what Tenant Advisory Council does. We'll be providing reports on provincial rent increase guidelines and vacancy management updates in conjunction with property services, and then updated and new policies. And a few projects that have started over last year and this year. One of the projects is Housing with Supports program in partnership with CMHA and Addiction Services. At some of our high needs buildings, we're providing living accommodations and mental health and addiction support for those who need it, but also to all the tenants in that building. And Tenant Advisory Council, this is a new initiative also started this year. We have 11 members who are tenants on the council, and Tenant Advisory Council represents the voice of LMCH tenants in providing insight and recommendations to the board of directors on strategic initiatives and policies that will guide and steer the organization. That's it for me for today. Thank you. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. There we go. We're all back. Any questions or comments on that presentation? Okay, I just have one comment, and this is addressed to my colleagues on the board. We're getting a lot of information today. And a lot of it may be advisable to get another presentation on individual areas. For instance, how do people become tenants or some of these programs? So I'm open to, if you contact me and say, you know, there's an aspect of that presentation I heard at the last meeting that I'd like a little more detail on, maybe we can do that. And I'm happy to talk to Ms. McKenzie about that going forward if anyone's has an area, because when you join a board, it's a little bit overwhelming at first, I think, to get all that information and try to digest it. So that's something I'm certainly open to doing. So Mr. Renault, you're the new person and you're last on the list. And by my calculation, you have 3 minutes. So this is going to be exciting.
Somebody must have told you about me. I'm not sure. Let me share my screen and we'll race through it.
Go ahead.
All right, property service and asset management. We are primarily two functions. One is operations, which is our customer service arm. For our portfolio, we have 154 building assets, approximately 495,400 square meters, or 5.2 million square feet.
How do I
At least
move it?
value average additions there. Structure is as on the screen. I won't go into the various positions.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Can I just stop you for 1 second? Maria, just you're talking and we're hearing you, so if you could mute.
Sorry.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. Just if you could mute while you're in the background, and then we can go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Renault, sorry.
Well, as I said, I won't go into the details of the org chart, but suffice to say it's split between those two functions. What we do in property services, this is the customer service arm of our organization. You know, it's tenant demand services. Those requests are come in by phone or by the website. Last year we did 21,209 calls. Year to date this year, 11,278. So we're running true to form. Preventive maintenance, facilities and equipment. This allows us to extend the life of our equipment and helps prevent things from going bump in the night. Life safety system maintenance, of course, critical to residences in terms of fire safety, sprinkler systems, regulatory code compliance, everything to do with our elevators and building code, fire code, grounds management, cutting the grass, removing the snow, supervision of contract service providers. You know, we have a number of them that support the organization for boilers and make up air units such as that. We work with them. Vacant unit refresh and restoration. Last year we did 361 vacant units. This year, today we're running at 191, so a little bit more than last year. We'll see how the remainder of the year comes out. Property insurance claim processing. When we have a fire, when we have a flood, it basically flows through our department. No pun intended on the flood. Pest control, which is a huge piece for us, very active area. Tenant education, where we attend sessions at the sites, speak about air conditioning and energy tips, things of that nature. And one of the biggest areas after hours service, very, very active area for us. We spend a lot of time plunging toilets and things in the wee hours of the morning. So we'll be taking a hard look at that in the future. The other arm, the capital planning piece, and we are blessed now to be flush with capital from a number of sources, and it's a great situation to be in, but it also is going to put demands on us in terms of how we manage that and how we meet the requirements of it. You know, that we can't have massive carry forward with these sort of things. We've got to get the work done in a timely fashion, and we're going to be taking a really hard, detailed look at how we plan our work and how we plan our time, so that we get things out to the street, we get the tenders done, we get the work in progress, so that, you know, the commitments we made for those yearly expenditures, we're able to meet those. Deliverables to the board, annual EMP review and update. So I'm working on that now with Marisa. Quarterly capital updates, KPI reports, and updated new policies, some of which you'll be seeing in the not too distant future. And that's it. My 3 minutes are up.
Perfect. You did very well. Any questions about that report? All right. So is it possible to have those reports forwarded to the board members just so they have them? Ms. McKenzie?
through you, Chair, we'll have Angela send those out to everybody so that you can review them in a little bit more detail, a little bit more in depth for sure.
And then I welcome anybody getting back to me and saying they'd like certain matters added to the, or discussed at a future meeting, if that kind of detail, or you can reach out to staff. So now we should have a motion to accept those, receiving those overviews, I assume. Somebody prepared to move that. Mr. Becerra out in the beautiful weather. It's not raining on him yet. Seconded by Mr. Milson. Any further comments or questions? We'll call the question. All those in favor? That matter is passed. I don't believe there are any in-camera matters. Am I right about that?
That's correct.
All right, so we come to all we need. We're going to adjourn the meeting. I want to thank everyone for coming, and we'll hopefully in the next short period of time, there'll be a subcommittee meeting with regard to CEO. And then again, if you have anything you want to add to the agenda, please feel free to contact me and we can make sure that that gets on the agenda for the next meeting. I'm happy to do that under new business and inquiries. So thank you very much and welcome everyone to the board. I just need a mover and seconder for adjournment. Moved by Ms. Chowns and seconded by Mr. Becerra. Thank you very much, everyone, and all those in favor. Nobody ever opposes adjournment in my experience. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks to staff, and we'll be seeing you all at our next meeting and appreciate your attendance tonight. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Night, everyone.